Or you think I'm so stupid that I don't know that Black Lives Matter. Of course I know Black Lives Matter. I know they do.
Yeah.
And I won't even go down the route of saying all lives matter, because some don't. There's some people that deserve to not be here. But most lives matter, let's just say. Decent lives matter. Then there's the light poles. I mean, the light poles would have just took it straight out.
Yeah.
Well, you would one light pole in any plane at any speed, and it's you're not your plane's not flying any further. Never mind going straight into a building and not even touching lawn.
What's your thoughts in the sense of, I know we mentioned about 9/11 quite a lot, so what's your thoughts about 9/11 and where you're standing with, the investigations of, what you come across? What's your take on it all?
Well, the thing with 9/11 is that I enjoy watching people's versions of it. It don't matter whether it's a no plane thing or it's thermite. Don't say that in front of Andrew. Don't tell Andrew Johnson I said that. Or whether it's no planes or it's holographs, and then I'm right from the very beginning. Well, I'd say I was a couple of years late after 9/11 when I first got introduced. I didn't really get introduced to it. I'd had this problem, which we've spoken about before, when I got arrested for blackmailing David Beckham. And the coverage of it in the news, I thought were a bit weird. So I started looking into things, and I actually came in from work one night about 3 in the morning. I was a club DJ, and so I got home at sort of like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still music's banging around in my head. I've put a couple of old 9/11 videos up on. I set up another YouTube channel just because I've got an old hard drive and I found loads of 9/11 videos from right at the beginning. Things like, and that were when it was fresh and it had not been. It was more of a. There were still people that were doubters. There were still trolls and things like that, but they were from other forums. So I don't know if you know, but in August, I don't know if you heard of the James Randi Education Forum. No. James Randi is this guy who's like people who call themselves skeptics in America. He's sort of like their cult leader and all that sort of stuff. Well, in August of 2001, he set up the James Randi Educational Forum, and that was the base for people who were going on forums looking for conspiracy theories and then trying to debunk them. Okay, so that was set up specifically for 9/11 because it opened in August 2001. But it was more of a playing field. Today we ain't got that level playing field. Back then it were forums, and it were about whether you decided to argue with somebody or not. These arguments used to go on for pages and pages and pages, and we started up groups like we had a Pal Talk. I don't know if you remember that. There were Pal Talk. I think it were for gamers, but we used it to talk to each other. And so I'm talking to people in America, and I knew Dylan, Jason, and Corey from Loose Change. And I sort of got involved. Anyway, there was this guy called, I've got right away, Anna. But yeah, so it were more of a platform, a level playing field. So we were both on the same forum. If you're on my forum, you abide by my rules. So I just delete anything that you don't like, and vice versa. But what they used to do on the JREF forum, the James Randi forum, is they took it to a whole new level. They'd have like stupidest thing of the week, and there were so many of them that it were picking through them were just like no. But there was no. As far as I knew, anyway, there was nobody who were planted in there, to try to, because you got these people now that are just doing it to make money. You know, the truthers and whatever thing comes along, they'll be doing that, and they get views, and then it's for me to continue my work, I need to. Donations. By the way, anybody who wants to donate to Unite Planet, just make a check out to Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really poor. So
yeah, so it were a lot better back then. It was a lot better. I know this is like reminiscing about old days, but I mean, I got right involved. Like I was telling you before, I met David Shaler. I got told to go and meet David Shaler. I've told this story before. I went up to Leeds to a little working men's club. It were 2006, as I remember. And this guy who started doing he was the first guy to say that there were no planes at the World Trade Center. But I think it was in order to another dividing thing, because there were people that would say, yeah, definitely, that makes sense, and then there were people that said, no, I saw it on video, I've seen it on video. And then you got these people saying, there's that woman on the beginning of Loose Change who says, when a plane flies above her and then crashes into the World Trade Center, and she's going, that was not American Airlines, that was not an American Airlines, it didn't have any windows in it and stuff like that. So you get people that have got all different, we're all aiming for the same thing, we want to know truth. It's just that we're arguing about who's right and who's wrong. And there wasn't as much as that as there is today, but it certainly did happen. And there were people put forward as heroes, and these people, these celebrity type truthers like William Rodriguez. Remember him, Last Man Out, who came and met me after I'd been arrested for saying something on a forum. Came and met me outside police station. And he had a chat with me on phone, not because he had to shoot off to Liverpool because he was doing a talk. But he got my number and he phoned me up a couple of times, and he was all about propaganda and public relations more than else. Saying, oh well, we can use this. They got you arrested for nothing, and we can use this, and blah 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 blah. And so that didn't last very long, because I thought I'm not in this to try to score points by making, just because I've been locked up. And I didn't quite know what his agenda were, and I still don't. But one of the interesting things is the guy, James Randi, I told you about, who did the forum. Now, there's William Rodriguez, who was the janitor, he wrote a book called Last Man Out, because he said it was Last Man Out at World Trade Center, and we were nobody to. I'm not disputing that, but he got passkey and all this, and they were doing all these tours and stuff. But the James Randi Educational Forum, who I told you were the sort of like the evil against which we were fighting to try and get our theories acknowledged and stuff. Well, James Randi used to be a magician back in the day, which gives you some sort of idea about him and how he's able to manipulate and trick and do things to people. But what nobody knew was that William Rodriguez was James Randi's assistant. You know how the magicians have assistants?
Yeah.
Usually it's a woman in a in a thing with. Well, he was William Rodriguez was James Randi's sidekick in his magic show, and there's all sorts of stuff outside. All these people that died. Harley Guy, you remember Harley Guy? Wore a Harley Davidson T-shirt. That's why he got called Harley Guy. And he says, "Oh, I saw the plane, and it crashed into the World Trade Center, and then the World Trade Center collapsed, mostly due to structural failure." And you're thinking to yourself, "Hang on a minute, it just fell down in front of your eyes, and you've just solved it like that." He ended up committing suicide apparently. All these suicides, and all the deaths around it. I mean, Ron. I'm thinking of a different guy. I'm thinking of Ron Brown, who Bill Clinton had killed. But there was this guy who did an interview with the Loose Change Boys, and he was in World Trade Center 7, and he said that because they weren't apparently nobody were killed in WTC 7 because it were it were unexpected. And it had not been hit by anything. So he said when he were in there when it started to, you could tell he said it were crumbling and whatever. He said, so we had to get out really quick. And he says, as I'm in the lobby, I'm walking over bodies. There's tons of bodies everywhere, and I'm just walking all over these bodies. I'm walking to try, stepping over these bodies to try and get out. So all these anomalies, but there's so many that people get stuck with one and won't look at any others. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
They get stuck with there were no planes at the World Trade Center. The data, the Pentagon, who were it? I'm pretty sure this was back in day, but I'm pretty sure this kid ended up turning out to be Paul Joseph Watson. And if anybody knows better than me, please let me know. But I think that's who he turned into. But he sent a freedom of information request to the American government for the flight path, for the flight data for Flight 93. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, a package drops on his floor from America, and it's there. They've sent it him the whole data. And I can't remember whether it had it flying over. It were doing a flyover rather than actually hitting the building. I think. I mean, I'm trying to think back like 14 years now, sort of off the top of my head. But there were lots and lots of stuff, loads of stuff to get your teeth into. Back in the day, like I said, it were a lot more level playing field. The people that were doing the debunking, as they call it, they were really, really intelligent people, right? They knew the stuff. They knew all the stuff, and the arguments. There's arguments that are really easy to just put to one to just say no. This is the reason for that. One of them, And it's one of my pet hates when people bring it up. One of them was aluminium cut through concrete and steel.
Okay.
Which is rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. It's we're talking about kinetic energy. I mean, if anybody's ever seen a water saw, a saw that uses water, 900 psi, it's not about what's there. It's about the kinetic energy. And if the plane was flying at the speed, I know this is totally irrelevant and a moot point, because if the plane was flying at the speed that they say it was, then it would have broken up anyway before it got to the World Trade Center, because it would, because of the density of the air. So, there's just tons and tons of just little pointers and little things that people forget. And I've got a forum that's been going since 2012. I hardly ever use it, but it's got so much information on there that I've left it up. It's still up there. And if anyone looks, I think if you look at Tapper Talk, or I think that's what it's hosted on now. It's changed that many times. If they look for Raconteurs news on there, they'll find it. And there's information from a long time ago, and different stuff.
So what's your thoughts on the Pentagon being hit? I mean, first of all, the Pentagon it is and was a very secure building. You would have thought they would have had missiles, to shoot down anything that's going to come towards them, first of all. And how can an airplane get so low and so fast and crash? What's your thoughts on that?
And each side of the Pentagon had been upgraded to be able to take that sort of attack, apart from the part where it went. The hole, you see the hole, that's not an aeroplane hole. The initial one, I'm not talking about when all the thing falls down, but the initial one, that's a missile. The smell of cordite, that's a missile. Right? It's got to have been a missile at the Pentagon. I mean, there's a famous picture where, if the plane would have gone in and blown up, and I know there were explosions and stuff, but they were much further deeper into the Pentagon than the outer ring, because I think there's about 5-6 different rings that are separated, and it had gone through. It had gone through, and so the fires were much deeper inside the Pentagon. But when the thing collapsed, there's an office, side of an office. You can see side of an office, and sat there. There's a book open, like a Bible or something like that. That's open on a pedestal. It's right at the edge of where this plane's supposedly gone. It's pristine. It's not burnt. Nothing. There's no. It's just pristine.
Yeah.
So it had to be a missile. And then of course they took the CCTV from the gas station across the road. Then there's the light poles. I mean, the light poles would have just took it straight out.
Yeah.
Well, you would one light pole in any plane at any speed, and it's your plane's not flying any further. Never mind going straight into a building and not even touching lawn. Even lawn, all pristine. Lawn's fine. Gardener must be great. He can take planes and everything.
Yeah.
But the light poles, and then the taxi driver, what were he called? Oh God, what were he called? I can't remember what he was called. Oh, who called Larry England, I think. Larry England, who witnessed it and said it looked like a small plane or a missile.
Really?
And so for me, it's got to be a missile. He died as well.
Oh, right.
He died not long after. Tons and tons of the guy I was telling you about who said he were walking over the bodies. He died. He got a really aggressive form of cancer, and took him just like that. So surrounding it, it's there's a lot of tragedy, and we're not just talking about New York. We're talking about all around the world. Everyone was traumatized. First time anything that traumatizing had been broadcast live around the world, and that were a huge part of it, I believe. That's what they wanted to do. And there's the within minutes, a second plane going into building. The Osama bin Laden's name is being bandied around like a joint. It's a it's a camping retreat or something like that. But it's if you can make your way. The important thing is for me is to be able to take yourself away from it and not allow it to take over your life. Because it will. I've been through it all. Honestly, I have. I've sat up for 3 days. 3 days flat. And I remember I were on a call to in fact, we were just talking all night. We're on Pal Talk, whatever, Pal Talk, I think it were. But it were a gamers thing, but we used it to talk to each other. And I remember, and this, I fell asleep at desk, so I'm asleep at desk, and that's all went, Jason, what? He says, I've just worked this out, right? Because they were the Cleveland, weren't they? Remember the Cleveland, story, shall we call it? That's where the two planes allegedly landed, the two original planes allegedly landed. And I think there were 200 odd people on board that they took off and they took into a place. But he'd been up and he'd been doing maths on how many people were there, how many people were on that plane, what the reports were, how many people were stopped at landed and had to be left at Cleveland Airport that never then came back, and we never heard of them again. Whatever they did to them, there's all sorts of stories. You believe half of them. If you believe half of them, you're a fool. That's what I say. But it's just so many facets. But you have to keep yourself out of it. I've spent days on computer. I've done that, and now I know the most important thing is keeping yourself. You're no good to anyone else unless you're in a good state of health yourself. You're in a good place mentally. Mental health.
Yeah. No, I think it's energy, isn't it? It's energy. It's energy, isn't it, mate?
It is, but we can't get that collective energy anymore. I used to go into a nightclub and you'd feel, you'd go into a football match, and there were you could feel it. Weren't just that you could hear the atmosphere, you could feel it. I were a DJ for 25 years. When I walked into whenever I walked into a room, like a disco or something like that, I could tell by the atmosphere, I could tell by what was going on around, I could tell that there were going to be trouble. I could tell when it was going to be a great night and everyone was going to love it and have a laugh and what have you, and a dance about. But I could tell when you can tell there's that feeling, that energy, and once you're connected to that, it's not going to. Once you're connected to that and you start to trust it, that's the main thing, is trusting it. Once you start to trust it, that's when you'll learn more about yourself, and that's what essentially this is all about, isn't it? Learning about yourself.
It
You
is.
want to learn about yourself and why you're here. That's what everyone wants to know. Why are we here? What are we doing here? Everybody wants to know that.
Yeah.
So that you've got to listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. Listen to your whatever your instinct says. Your instinct's very rarely wrong. My instinct when I meet people or I speak to people, I instinctively I know whether I can trust them or not. Apart from Owen, who slipped past, but Adi will tell you that we used to do Friends of UK column. I don't know if you came once, didn't you? Up in Sheffield in 2013, 2014. Yeah, but he brought somebody there. He brought somebody in who we'd met, and he brought him along. And afterwards, I said to him, I said, "Hey, I don't like him at all." I said, "He's not. Oh, he's Mr. This, he's Mr. That. He's all right. He's a good bloke. He's Mr. Lawful Rebellion." Oh, that T-shirt on, and he got his 490, as you're supposed to be when you're a social justice warrior. He'd got his 499, no wrong with that, jeans on with turn-ups, right, turned up and everything, and he was young and he was good. He did a good talk. In fact, you can find it if you look for John Bravo on YouTube, a John Bravo talk, Friends UK column. You'll find it. It's on there. It's from a few years ago. He was very, he did a good presentation and everything. But I knew he was trouble. I just knew he was trouble. And then we got a very nice venue, as I think if you remember. We were upstairs in a casino. Due to Adi's links with and my own links with nightlife in Sheffield, we'd been able to secure that, and he got us booted out of that simply because, right, he was one of them. Simply because it had a car park above it, a multi-story car park. And you parked in car park, and they'd validate your parking, so you wouldn't have to pay. They'd even do, that way, usually people that are gambling and that. But they'd said, we'll do that. We'll validate your parking. There's no. We just need your name. So you just give me your name. And he went up to the thing. It can validate parking. Yeah. I just need your name to put it in. I ain't got one. What do you mean you ain't got? I ain't got a name. And he just refused to even he could have just said Michael Mouse, couldn't it? Or Roland the Rat. He could have said anything, but he didn't. All he was interested in was just trying to make his point that he were making, that names, I don't have a name and I'm just an entity and I'm floating about. I love all that. I've got an interest in it, but I can't have it all the time. You have to have some sort of reality. Yeah. So that I didn't particularly want to give him my name, but it didn't make any difference. I just said Jason, in fact, I think. In the end, I just said Jason, and they didn't ask for my second name and validated it. Boom, big deal. They could have said Dave. They never asked me for ID or anything, but he got his booted out of that for that incident. And that was brilliant. It was a brilliant place, and we weren't paying rent on it. It was a beautiful. It had a screen, a great big massive screen, which we could put things on. We put a Friends of UK column, a UK column. What was it? An audience with UK column. That was it. Where we got all the UK column guys up on the screen, and people came in audience and started asking questions. And we're asking them questions, and that's up on An Evening with UK column. That's up on YouTube. That's from a few years ago. It's in two parts 1 and 2, and that's where Tony Farrell turned up, and nobody had recognised him.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, he starts. That's when I met Tony Farrell. I mean, that's a whole other story. What he got me to try. What he tried to. Well, he's a good bloke, Tony. He is a good bloke. And I trust him. He don't start me spider senses tingling, but it's hard to get hold of him. Last time I spoke to him, I had to do a recording interview with him. We were in Gibraltar at the time, but I weren't allowed to tell anybody. But since it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, don't suppose it matters anymore. I don't think he'll be there because he was roaming about Europe, shall we say. But he was in Gibraltar, and I like Tony. We did a few interviews with him. A good one on Hillsborough when that all came out. So Yeah, it's just having that balance. And I hate that word. You know, people say life balance and this, that, and life coach. It's like Weight Watchers. It does my head in. And Weight Watchers are like cancer charities. They don't want to make you thin. What they want to do is they want to get you into somewhere where you lose a little bit of weight, then you don't need them anymore. You get fat and you go back, and that's all it is. And instead of people just embracing who they are,
yeah,
and then if they look at themselves and they don't like who they are, then do something about it. Don't expect someone else to do something about it. You know, what you're doing is you're getting somebody else authority over. You're giving them your power.
Yeah.
So
that's it. It's like the George Carlin quote says, "Don't get a self-help book."
If you're looking for self-help, why would you read a book written by somebody else? That's not self-help. That's help. There's no such thing as self-help. If you did it yourself, you didn't need help. Try to pay attention to the language we've all agreed on.
Put the book away.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Look inside yourself.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself. It's difficult.
Mm.
It is difficult to sometimes be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And say, I were a prat, or, I shouldn't have done that, or that was wrong, or, that's something in my life that I'd like to get rid of,
Mm.
It's the old, like Jerry Croft said on one of his, in fact, it was about the bias US media. And he said, because he had two examples. He had an example of Iran doing something to America, sinking a ship or something like that. Sinking a warship or something like that. I can't remember. But the opposite, the other story that part of his study was when that Iranian airliner was shot down by an American warship, and he did an analysis of how many column inches each story got. Each were as bad as each other, but the column inches on the one where they've shot down an Iranian airliner full of people, a civilian airliner full of people, children, women, all dead, carnage. You'd be all over everywhere if it were, a Western airline that had done it. Well, I say Western, American or French or German or British or something like that. It'd be all over the place, but it's not. And he said, just ask yourself this question. Just think about this. He said, think of something. In fact, what I think he said, do it with somebody else. Ask them what's a bad thing that somebody's done to them. And he says, and they'll tell you thousands. There'll be loads of things that people have done to them. Then say to a same person, now tell me the things that you've done wrong to other people. And there won't be any, because that's just the way we're built. We don't want to take responsibility. But if we start to do that, start to take responsibility for ourselves and what we do, and not the old chucking your fag packet out the window. I'm keeping somebody in employment. Right, you're keeping Trigger in employment.
This old broom has had 17 new heads and 14 new handles in its time.
How the hell can it be the same bloody broom then?
There ain't no triggers left anymore. No, it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And then you integrate different. We've had troubles here in Sheffield, in Page Hall, where different communities have been. You're not going to get communities to integrate. You're not. It's not racist. It's not xenophobic. It's just that people generally tend to prefer to be around people like themselves. who look like them, talk like them, dress like them. You know, it's just human nature, and we're trying to get rid of human nature in every way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're trying to be integrated and diverse, and which I've got no pride. Look, it don't make any difference to me what colour anybody is or whatever. You know, it makes no odds.
No.
But you think I'm stupid enough? The Black Lives Matter people, they piss me off.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Lives Matter, because what they're saying is they think that I'm so stupid, I'm so bigoted, and I'm so disgusting that I think that my life's worth more than a black person's life. Mm-hmm. Or you think I'm so stupid that I don't know that Black Lives Matter. Of course I know Black Lives Matter. I know they do.
Yeah.
And I won't even go down the route of saying all lives matter, because some don't. There's some people that deserve to not be here. But most lives matter, let's just say. Decent lives matter.
Perfect. That's right. That's the right phrase. That's exactly. All decent lives matter. I agree with that.